Learning the instant confidence tools that we've already talked about are such a huge component to being able to have consistent confidence, because those things are things that you institute in your life on a regular basis. They should become practices that you engage in on an intentional and regular basis. And you'll notice a big difference. I'm really curious which of the 7 ingredients that you lean on the most, which of them made you feel the most different. Go ahead and make a comment in the comment section below and let me know which one you are the biggest fan of, because I'm fascinated in the truth and the honesty from everyone in what they really feel makes the biggest difference to them. Again, 25 years working on and studying confidence and how to be able to help people show up with more confidence in themselves when they're alone, when they're in front of somebody one-on-one, when they're in small groups, and when they're in front of 1,000 people on stage. It's the exact same process, just almost like those little Russian dolls. As you start to grow the levels and the circumstances and you push the edges on your comfort zone. I call that owning the edge, being able to play with your edges. So it's all about developing personal confidence in yourself first, and then you start to develop it in different circumstances as well. You know, it's fascinating too. Beliefs are something that absolutely fuels our ability to maintain confidence. We can suggest that we should be confident in a scenario, but then we collect the evidence of what happens in that situation, and it either tells us that we have a really good shot at being able to get the response or the result that we're looking for, or it didn't necessarily go so well. When that occurs and we collect new evidence, we start to believe that that evidence has some weight on one of those two truths. The reality is that we are constantly building two beliefs at the exact same time whenever we're working on building self-confidence in something. We're building the belief that says, I can, and we're building the belief that says, I won't, or they don't like me, or I can't, for those of you who haven't eliminated that word from your vocabulary yet, which I strongly advise. As the person who is the chief construction person, you have to make the decision that you're going to only look for evidence to build the belief that says I can. When you have an experience that shows that things don't go so well, you discover how come it didn't go so well. You reinsert those lessons into your execution plan, and then you get back out there and you do it again with a little bit more information in order to be able to collect some evidence that says that I can. That's the basic process. It's not very complex. It is incredibly, undeniably honest. And when you collect evidence that shows that you can, and it's unquestionable, it's not us making a decision that, oh, I'm going to feel more confident today. And you start to, pretend. Act as if is a very important practice. I'm not beating that down. I think it's very important in specific situations for us to act as if, to feel, to visualize, to project when we're practicing is, what's going to happen in the future. Yes. However, it is a much more powerful practice to start to construct reasons, science behind why this belief is the truth, why I deserve to have more confidence in myself in this particular scenario. For me, that was the only way that I learned how to be able to build my own self-confidence in different situations that terrified me when I first attempted to do them. Do you remember when you were in grade school and you used to play the game Truth or Dare? I remember playing the game Truth or Dare and being equally as mortified to pick one of the two options, because both were going to end up in an embarrassing scenario most of the time. But Truth, I remember being the one that was the most risk-free, because I was mostly a good girl, which meant unfortunately revealing that I hadn't done most things, which was still embarrassing as a young girl. As an adult, I love to engage in the game of Truth and Dare. So it's a slight twist on the old one, because you don't play it with an opponent. You play it with yourself. The way the game works is this. You sit down on whatever night it happens to be that you're spending with yourself, and it's your Truth and Dare night. I would pour myself a glass of wine and I would sit down with my notebook out on my patio with a nice comfy blanket and enjoy the evening. And while the sun's setting, I would write out my truth list, which is what is the truth of all of the things that I would love to do in the next few years, and what are the things that I would love to do in the next few months, or what are the things that I would love to do right now that kind of make me nervous? What are the things that I would love to do that I'm a little bit scared to do, that I'm a little unsure of? Who is it that I need to ask something that I'm a little bit scared to ask? Or what activity is it that I would like to try that kind of freaks me out a little bit? And make my truth list. After I've spent an evening making my truth list, which is always a really fun process to do, and again, I enjoy doing it with a glass of wine because it allows me to be able to add a few more things on there. The next part of that game is that within 1 week, I have to select something on that list which I'm going to take action on. And that's my dare. And by inserting that practice into my life on a monthly basis, allows you to learn and has allowed me to learn how to become an expert at truth and dare. To regularly put yourself into a scenario where you examine the things that you would love to do but are a little bit fearful of perhaps, and then to schedule one of them and do it, gives you evidence that you're not afraid to take action. Playing the truth and dare game as an adult is one of the most influential factors in building consistent confidence in your knowledge that you will not back down from things that scare you. That significant character difference in how you see yourself as a person fuels so many other components of your daily life, allows you to wake up with a little bit of a swing in your step. And can you even imagine the way that you walk once you've accomplished the dare for the first time and you've been able to check mark something off of your truth and dare list? I have another list, and it's my truth and done list. And it is all of the things that I have done that I was scared to do and I did them anyways. And that list is a list that lives in my space, so I see it all the time. So as opposed to being reminded of all the things that I need to do, I'm reminded of all the things that I did that scared me. It's easy to talk to yourself any way you want to. Having the truth and dare game alive in your life allows you to spice things up a little bit on your own terms. Now, I told you that I was going to talk to you about some of the biggest leadership secrets that I've learned, because one of the necessary skills to learn how to build is your leadership ability in order to be able to have influence. One of the most important things that we're going to go over first is how, as a leader, do you manage a challenging situation? And when I was a brand new leader, I was terrible at this. I did not do well. I didn't know how to deal with people when they weren't performing at their highest level, and I was unsure about what to do. So I did one of two things. The first approach I took was not to do anything at all, because I didn't know how to discipline or even have that conversation. I was fearful of them not liking me. I was fearful of them getting mad at me. I was fearful of me handling it badly. I was fearful of me saying the wrong thing. I was fearful of it all. So instead of dealing with it, I wouldn't deal with it, which meant that people learned that they could misbehave and I wouldn't do anything, which meant that their behavior only got worse. That doesn't build a strong team, particularly if I'm the leader of that team. I'm not leading. And nobody else feels safe because they see that the behavior that's not acceptable is being tolerated. Nobody wants to be part of a team like that. The next thing I tried was I became a complete bitch. And I'm bad at it. So I told them it was my way or the highway. I felt as though in order for me to make my point, I needed to bring anger into the conversation, and I handled it absolutely terribly, spoke to them inappropriately, and people laughed, because of course they would. So I had no idea which to do in any situation going forward until I learned the biggest leadership tool that I've ever learned, and that's that people are motivated to do what they want to do. so let them. What I mean by that is to just use the truth on your side when you're dealing with any scenario, including having to work on improving behavior. The exact specific example we're going to use is someone's continuously late. When it's the right time, this is the conversation. And the conversation is going to be completely pleasant because there's no need to bring anger into a conversation in order to make the conversation a very frank conversation. So we had discussed previously that you were required to be here by X time. That has consistently not happened. We've got two options moving forward from here. Scenario number one, you're going to deliver and be here on time as you promised from the very beginning of our relationship for the rest of our relationship. But there will never be another day between now and the next minimum 6 months where you're coming in late. Scenario number two is if you choose to do anything else besides scenario number one. And if that happens, then I'm going to have to make the decision that whatever the result is, we can't work together anymore. I'm going to have to bump your contract down. I'm going to terminate you. Whatever the result is, that is the truth of what you're going to be forced to do if they can't get their butt in on time. So never make up this discussion. Deal with the truth, but give them the decision to make on their own. So here's scenario number one. Here's scenario number two. I leave it completely in your hands. You tell me what to do based upon what you choose to do, and I will then choose to do what I need to do in response to what you decide to do. Does that make sense? Okay. Is it clear? Okay. Is it unfair? Okay. So you can deal with a scenario and put a really hard line on the behavior, and when they choose which to do, they know what your resulting actions are going to be. The key for you is that you have to deliver based upon whatever these resulting actions are. If they are on time consistently, then you can never bring up their lateness previously, ever. Again, it's not allowed. If they are late, then you've got to deliver the result that you said that you were going to deliver. Otherwise, the entire rest of the team and you are not going to have confidence in your ability to lead this team because you're not leading from a place of truth and you're not executing on the things that you say that you would execute on. So that is the biggest leadership tool that I've ever learned, and I still use it today. People are motivated to do what they want to do, so let them. The next leadership tool that is one of the most important leadership tools as well is that people will fight to be right. How that has an implication into a team is that in order for your team to be equally engaged in fighting to win and succeed, is involve them in the process when you're creating the plan. Bring them into the process of determining how to be able to move forward. Listen to each other. Put down on paper all of the ideas that come up, and then actually insert some of these ideas. I see some companies that I consult with that will sit down and they'll do this activity, but then they'll never use any of the ideas. They stay in the parking lot permanently. This is a process where we're actively engaging people to get beyond the point of this conversation, to insert some of their solutions and determine what is viable to be able to craft a plan that truly was created by this entire team all on its own. Now, obviously, there's certain components that if there's a decision that's going to be detrimental, then you don't do it for the sake of doing it. None of this is for the sake of doing it. But when you've had everybody who needs to vet the solution, and determine that the solution is a sound one to move forward, for any individual person who had a component of crafting that solution, they are going to fight to be right. Which means that you're going to have a team that shows up more unified in order to be able to chase a solution and chase a result and to prove that they were right over any other team that's showing up to work today anywhere on the planet. And that's the truth. It is not difficult to be able to engage a team, to have the team have confidence in each other and the plan more than by involving them in the creation process, the vetting process, and then having the ability to execute and have trust from you to do so that they can prove that they were right. Those two leadership tools and truths are the two most powerful leadership tools and truths that I've learned in over 25 years of working with thousands of people all over North America. I'm going to have a program available for you on the next video. I'm going to do everything in my power in order to convince you that if we've never worked together, then this is an incredible place for us to start, so that we can talk about things like confidence, so that we can talk about the circumstances in which you have it and the situations in which you don't oftentimes, and how to be able to change that. We will collectively work over the course of the next few months, if you're so inclined, on redirecting your confidence into the things that are the most important for you so that you can serve other people at your best. It is my goal to do everything in my power in order to have you get sold completely on you. That's what's going to let you be able to sell other people on your ideas. That's what's going to allow you to be able to lead other people authentically. And that's what's going to allow you to have the confidence to speak up and do the things that you believe in. And the world could use you right now. This program I'm going to talk to you about is an unapologetic assault on fear, doubt, maybe someday, and not good enough. We'll see you in a couple of days.